We will explore 69 mysteries of the oceans that scientists have finally solved, each one a quiet ripple of wonder, inviting you to drift, imagine, and relax. 1. The Bloop. Far out in the vast and quiet expanse of the Pacific Ocean, a powerful and deeply mysterious sound was once detected by underwater listening devices. It was low, distant, and unlike anything scientists had clearly recorded before, which led to speculation about an unknown and possibly enormous sea creature lurking in the depths. For a time, the imagination filled in the gaps, and the sound became associated with ideas of hidden life in the darkest parts of the ocean. However, over years of careful study and comparison, scientists found that the sound matched known patterns produced by ice quakes, specifically, large chunks of ice breaking away from Antarctic glaciers. These events can release immense energy, creating sounds that travel thousands of kilometers underwater. What once seemed like a signal from an unknown creature was, in reality, a natural and powerful expression of the Earth itself slowly shifting and reshaping. 2. Mary Celeste abandonment. The story of the Mary Celeste has long carried an eerie stillness, as the ship was discovered adrift in the Atlantic Ocean with no crew on board. Yet with cargo, supplies, and personal belongings left largely untouched, there were no clear signs of struggle, no obvious damage, and no immediate explanation for why everyone had left so suddenly. This silence invited mystery, and for years the incident was wrapped in speculation ranging from piracy to supernatural interference. Over time, though, a more grounded explanation emerged through investigation and reconstruction. Evidence suggests that a faulty pump may have led the crew to believe the ship was taking on water, while volatile alcohol cargo could have caused pressure buildup or minor explosions that were not visible afterward. Combined with rough sea conditions, the captain may have ordered a temporary evacuation as a precaution. Unfortunately, the crew likely became separated from the ship and were lost at sea. 3. Bermuda Triangle mystery. The region commonly referred to as the Bermuda Triangle has long been associated with unexplained disappearances of ships and aircraft, often described in ways that suggest something unusual or even unnatural might be occurring within its boundaries. Stories of sudden vanishings, malfunctioning instruments, and missing vessels have contributed to a sense of unease surrounding this part of the ocean. However, when researchers examined the data more carefully, a clearer picture began to form. The area is one of the busiest shipping and flight paths in the world, which naturally increases the number of incidents simply due to volume. When adjusted for traffic, the rate of disappearances is not significantly different from other heavily traveled regions. Additionally, factors such as sudden storms, strong currents like the Gulf Stream, human error. 4. Kraken legends. For centuries, sailors told quiet, unsettling stories of a vast creature rising from the deep, its enormous limbs wrapping around ships and pulling them beneath the surface. These tales, passed from one voyage to another, gradually formed the legend of the Kraken, a sea monster said to dwell in the cold and dark northern oceans. The descriptions were often dramatic, but they carried small details that seemed consistent: long tentacles, great size, and sudden appearances. Over time, as deep-sea exploration improved, scientists discovered real animals that closely matched these features. Giant squid and colossal squid, rarely seen due to their deep habitats, were eventually observed and even captured on camera. These creatures can grow to impressive lengths and possess powerful limbs. What once seemed like pure myth slowly revealed itself as an exaggerated but understandable interpretation of real, rarely seen marine life. 5. Loch Ness Monster. In the still, dark waters of Loch Ness, many people have reported seeing something unusual, shapes moving beneath the surface, long neck-like forms, or ripples that seem to follow no clear pattern. These sightings built the enduring idea of a hidden creature living deep within the lake. Photographs and eyewitness accounts added to the mystery, even though many were unclear or later questioned. As investigations continued, researchers approached the mystery with more careful observation and modern tools. It became clear that many sightings could be explained by natural causes, such as floating logs, wave patterns caused by passing boats, or large fish briefly breaking the surface. Light reflections and the unique shape of the lake can also distort perception. Over time, what seemed like evidence of a hidden creature became a collection of understandable visual misinterpretations shaped by expectation and imagination. 6. Alien sea creature sounds. Deep beneath the ocean's surface, strange sounds have occasionally been recorded, rhythmic, distant, and unfamiliar enough to raise questions about their origin. Some of these sounds appeared structured, almost as if they were produced by living creatures communicating in ways not yet understood. This led to speculation about unknown marine species or even entirely new forms of life hidden in the depths. However, with continued monitoring and comparison, scientists began to identify patterns linking these sounds to non-biological sources. Many were traced back to underwater geological activity, such as shifting tectonic plates, volcanic movement, or the release of gas from the seafloor. These processes can create surprisingly complex acoustic signals that travel long distances underwater. What once sounded like evidence of unknown life turned out to be the natural voice of the Earth itself, echoing quietly through the deep ocean. 7. Sea foam attack. Along certain coastlines, there have been moments when large masses of thick sea foam suddenly moved inland, covering roads, vehicles, and even parts of towns. To those witnessing it, the scene could feel unsettling, almost as if the ocean itself was spilling over in an unnatural way. Some initially suspected pollution or chemical discharge as the cause, especially when the foam appeared dense and unusually persistent. However, scientific investigation revealed a much calmer explanation rooted in natural processes. Sea foam forms when organic matter, like algae, plankton, and decaying marine plants, mixes with seawater and is agitated by strong winds and waves. Storm conditions can whip this mixture into thick, stable foam that accumulates and is pushed ashore. What appeared dramatic and unusual was simply the result of natural ocean activity intensifying under the right environmental conditions. 8. Treacherous sea foam. In some cases, sea foam has not only appeared suddenly, but has also created dangerous situations, reducing visibility and even contributing to accidents along coastal roads. Its thickness and persistence made it seem unusual, leading to concerns about contamination or hazardous substances. Yet, the explanation remains closely tied to natural ocean behavior. When waters become rich in nutrients, often due to seasonal changes or upwelling, algae growth increases significantly. As this organic material breaks down, it releases compounds that help stabilize bubbles. When storms arrive, strong winds churn the water, producing large volumes of foam that can be carried inland. The danger comes not from toxicity, but from reduced visibility and slippery surfaces. What feels hazardous and mysterious is, in fact, a predictable outcome of biological activity combined with weather conditions. 9. Ghost ship sightings. Stories of silent ships appearing on the horizon, drifting without crew or purpose, have long captured the imagination of sailors. These so-called ghost ships were often described as distant, unclear, and sometimes vanishing as quickly as they appeared. Such sightings created an atmosphere of mystery, suggesting abandoned vessels or even something more unexplainable. Over time, careful study of these canals showed that many of these sightings can be explained through optical illusions known as mirages. Under certain atmospheric conditions, layers of air with different temperatures bend light in unusual ways, making distant objects appear distorted, elevated, or duplicated. Ships beyond the horizon can seem to float or take on strange shapes. Combined with fatigue and limited visibility at sea, these effects can easily mislead observers. What once felt like encounters with ghostly vessels is now understood as the interplay between light, air, and perception. 10. Sailing stones in shallow sea. In certain shallow coastal regions, observers once noticed rocks and stones that appeared to move across the seabed, leaving faint trails behind them. The idea of solid objects shifting on their own in calm environments felt unusual, and for a time it invited speculation about hidden forces or unexplained underwater activity. However, with patient observation and controlled study, a clear explanation emerged. In areas where water is shallow and temperatures fluctuate, thin sheets of ice can occasionally form around partially submerged stones. As tides shift and gentle currents move beneath these fragile ice layers, the ice can slowly push the stones along the soft seabed. The motion is gradual and silent, often leaving visible tracks in mud or sand. What once seemed like a mysterious movement is now understood as a delicate interaction between ice formation, water movement, and the natural conditions of the shoreline. 11. Disappearing ships in calm waters. There have been accounts of ships vanishing even when the sea appeared calm and manageable, with no obvious storms or hazards nearby. This created a sense of unease, as calm waters are usually associated with safety rather than danger. For a long time, such canals were grouped into broader maritime mysteries. However, further study revealed that calm surfaces do not always reflect what is happening beneath. One of the key explanations involves rogue waves, large, unexpected waves that can form due to the interaction of different wave systems and underwater currents. These waves can rise suddenly, even in otherwise stable conditions, and are powerful enough to overwhelm vessels. In addition, structural weaknesses or loading imbalances can make ships vulnerable. What seemed like unexplained disappearances in peaceful seas are now largely attributed to hidden ocean dynamics and rare but powerful wave cutting. 12. Sudden sea fog patches. Sailors have often described entering thick patches of fog that seem to appear almost instantly, reducing visibility to near zero and creating a disorienting and sometimes frightening experience. These fog banks can feel unnatural because they form so quickly and may be highly localized. In earlier times, such sudden changes were difficult to explain and added to the sense of mystery surrounding the sea. Modern meteorology, however, provides a clear understanding of this phenomenon. Sea fog commonly forms when warm, moist air moves over cooler ocean water. As the air cools rapidly, the moisture condenses into tiny droplets, creating dense fog. This process, known as cold air advection, can happen quickly under the right conditions. What feels like a sudden and mysterious appearance is actually a predictable interaction between air temperature, humidity, and ocean surface conditions. 13. Mysterious ripples in deep water. Far below the ocean's surface, scientists once detected slow, wave-like movements that did not match the patterns seen on the surface. These deep ripples seemed to move silently through layers of water, creating the impression of hidden forces or unknown underwater activity. For a time, their origin remained unclear because they were not visible from above and required specialized instruments to detect. With further study, researchers discovered that these were internal waves, a natural phenomenon that occurs when layers of water with different densities interact. Unlike surface waves, these move along boundaries between warmer and colder water layers. They can travel vast distances and influence ocean mixing. What once felt like a hidden motion in the depths is now understood as a fundamental part of how the ocean regulates temperature and energy beneath its calm surface. 14. Underwater voices on sonar. Naval operators and researchers have occasionally reported hearing unusual sounds through sonar systems, patterns that seemed almost like distant voices or structured signals. These sounds, echoing through the water, sparked curiosity and sometimes concern, as they did not immediately match known mechanical or natural sources. Over time, careful analysis revealed that many of these voices were either marine mammals or human-made sonar signals reflecting and distorting underwater. Whales, in particular, produce complex vocalizations that can travel long distances and change as they interact with underwater terrain. Additionally, sonar waves can bounce off objects and return in altered forms, creating layered or echo-like effects. What once sounded like something unfamiliar or unknown is now recognized as a combination of animal communication and acoustic distortion in the vast and reflective underwater environment. 15. Strange glows in the sea. Sailors have long described the ocean glowing softly at night, sometimes lighting up in waves or shimmering with movement beneath the surface. These glowing patches could appear suddenly, giving the impression of something unusual or even supernatural within the water. In reality, this gentle illumination comes from bioluminescent organisms, most commonly tiny plankton. These organisms produce light through chemical reactions in their bodies, often as a response to movement or disturbance in the water. When waves crash or ships pass through, the motion triggers this glow, creating a calm and almost dreamlike drisha. Over time, scientists have studied this process in detail, confirming it as a natural survival mechanism. What once seemed mysterious is now appreciated as one of the ocean's most quiet and beautiful natural phenomena. 16. Sea serpent sightings. Reports of long, snake-like creatures moving through the ocean have appeared in maritime stories for centuries. These so-called sea serpents were often described as large, fast-moving, and partially visible, making them difficult to identify clearly. While such sightings once fueled ideas of unknown species, modern understanding offers more grounded explanations. Many of these observations are now linked to known marine animals such as oarfish, which can grow to impressive lengths and have a ribbon-like appearance. In other cases, groups of swimming animals, floating debris, or even waves aligned in a certain way can create the illusion of a continuous moving body. Human perception, especially in open water, can easily connect separate shapes into a single form. What once seemed like encounters with hidden creatures is now understood as a mix of real animals and visual interpretation. 17. Mermaid sightings. Stories of mermaids, human-like figures seen in the water, have been part of seafaring culture for generations. Sailors often described glimpses of shapes that appeared to resemble a human upper body combined with a tail, usually seen briefly before disappearing beneath the surface. These sightings were often made under conditions of fatigue, distance, or low visibility. Over time, researchers concluded that many of these encounters can be explained by marine mammals, such as manatees and dugongs. When viewed from afar, especially in dim light, their movements and posture near the surface can resemble a human-like form. Combined with expectation and imagination, the mind can fill in missing details. What once seemed like evidence of mythical beings is now understood as a natural misinterpretation of real animals seen under uncertain conditions. 18. Sea monster hoaxes. Throughout history, images and stories of sea monsters have circulated widely, often presented as proof of unknown creatures living beneath the ocean. Some of these accounts included photographs or physical remains that seemed convincing at first glance. However, as investigative methods improved, many of these cases were revealed to be deliberate hoaxes or misrepresentations. In some instances, objects were staged or altered to appear unusual, while in others, known animals were presented in misleading ways. The desire for attention, storytelling, or even simple curiosity contributed to these fabrications. Scientific scrutiny, including image analysis and physical examination, helped uncover the truth behind many such claims. What once fueled belief in hidden monsters is now understood as a combination of human creativity, misunderstanding, and the appeal of mystery. 19. Haunted wrecks. Sunken ships resting quietly on the ocean floor have sometimes been described as haunted, especially when divers or equipment recorded strange sounds or movements around them. These wrecks, often creaking or shifting slightly, created an eerie atmosphere that led to imaginative interpretations. However, these sensations have clear physical explanations. Underwater currents continuously move through and around wrecked structures, causing loose parts to shift or vibrate. Trapped air pockets can escape slowly, producing unusual sounds, while marine life moving through the wreck can add to the effect. The structure itself may also settle over time, creating subtle noises. What once felt like something supernatural is now understood as the natural interaction between water movement, aging materials, and marine ecosystems. 20. Eerie night sounds at sea. In the stillness of the open ocean at night, sailors have often reported hearing distant, haunting sounds that seem to come from all directions. These noises, sometimes described as calls, hums, or low echoes, can feel unsettling in the quiet darkness. With limited visibility and heightened sensitivity, such experiences were often difficult to explain. Over time, scientists identified that many of these sounds are produced by marine animals, especially whales. Whale songs can travel vast distances underwater and may change in tone as they pass through different layers of water. Additionally, ships and distant human activity can produce low-frequency sounds that carry far across the ocean. What once seemed mysterious is now understood as a natural soundscape of the ocean, filled with communication and movement beneath the surface. 21. Sudden swells without wind. There are moments when the sea appears calm in terms of local wind, yet large, smooth swells continue to move across the water. This can feel unusual, as waves are often associated with nearby weather conditions. In reality, Ocean swells can travel long distances from storms that occurred far away. These waves maintain their energy even after the wind that created them has disappeared. As a result, a peaceful-looking sea can still carry powerful and steady mucho patterns. Scientists have studied how energy transfers through water, confirming that wave motion can persist across vast distances. What once seemed like an unexplained movement is now recognized as the lingering athara of distant weather systems traveling silently across the ocean. 22. Ships stopped by invisible walls. Some sailors have described situations where their ships seem to struggle or slow down unexpectedly, even when no visible obstacle was present. This sensation created the impression of an invisible barrier within the water. Over time, this effect has been explained by the interaction of strong opposing currents and wind. When a vessel moves against a powerful current, especially one not visible on the surface, it can feel as though progress is being resisted. In some cases, layered water densities can also create drag-like effects. These forces are not always immediately noticeable, but can significantly impact movement. What once felt like an unseen obstacle is now understood as the natural resistance created by ocean currents and environmental conditions. 23. Iceberg sounds. In the cold and distant regions of the ocean, large icebergs drift slowly, often appearing silent and still. Yet, beneath that calm presence, they can produce deep, echoing sounds, cracks, booms, and long, resonating tones that travel far through the water. Early explorers who heard these noises sometimes described them as unnatural or unsettling, as if something vast was shifting out of sight. Over time, scientists studied these sounds and found a clear explanation. Icebergs are under constant internal stress as temperature changes and ocean currents affect their structure. When cracks form or sections break apart, energy is released in the form of sound waves. These can travel efficiently underwater, making them seem louder and more mysterious than they are. What once felt like an unknown signal is now understood as the natural fracturing process of massive ice formations. 24. Underwater lights. Reports of glowing or flickering lights beneath the ocean's surface have long captured attention, especially when seen in deep or remote waters. These lights sometimes appear to move or pulse, leading to speculation about unknown sources or hidden activity. However, detailed research has revealed that many of these lights are produced by living organisms through a process known as bioluminescence. Various deep-sea creatures, including fish, jellyfish, and plankton, can generate light using chemical reactions within their bodies. This ability serves different purposes, such as attracting prey, communication, or defense. In the darkness of deep water, even small amounts of light can appear striking. What once seemed unusual is now recognized as a widespread and natural adaptation among marine life. 25. Magnetic sea zones. Some areas of the ocean were once believed to interfere with navigation tools, especially compasses, leading to the idea of mysterious magnetic zones. Sailors reported slight deviations in readings, which sometimes caused confusion during long journeys. This led to speculation about unusual forces affecting these regions. Over time, scientists studied the Earth's magnetic field more closely and found that such variations are natural and occur globally. The magnetic field is not perfectly uniform and can shift slightly depending on location. In addition, human error and instrument limitations can contribute to perceived anomalies. Modern navigation systems account for these variations, making them predictable and manageable. What once seemed like a hidden force in the sea is now understood as a normal aspect of the Earth's magnetic behavior. 26. Confusing sea currents. At times, sailors have encountered areas where the water seems to move unpredictably, with currents shifting direction or strength without obvious cause. This created the impression of chaotic or unexplained movement within the ocean. However, oceanographers have shown that these patterns are part of complex systems involving gyres and eddies. Large-scale currents circulate across ocean basins, while smaller rotating currents form within them. These interactions can create zones where movement feels irregular. Temperature differences, wind patterns, and the shape of coastlines all influence these gyre systems. With modern tracking and modeling, these once confusing movements are now mapped and understood. What once seemed random is actually part of an intricate and dynamic ocean system. 27. Sudden warm currents. There have been instances where ships moving through colder waters suddenly encounter warmer patches, creating a noticeable change in temperature. This shift once seemed unusual, especially when it occurred without visible environmental changes. Today, this is well understood as part of major ocean current systems, such as warm currents that transport heat from equatorial regions toward cooler areas. These currents flow like rivers within the ocean, maintaining relatively stable paths but occasionally shifting slightly. When a vessel crosses one of these currents, the temperature difference becomes clear. This natural transfer of heat plays a key role in regulating global climate. What once felt like an unexpected change is now recognized as a predictable feature of ocean circulation. 28. Cold water bands. In contrast to warm currents, there are also regions where colder water rises toward the surface, forming distinct bands or patches that differ from surrounding almiahi. These areas were once difficult to explain, especially when they appeared in otherwise warm regions. Scientists now understand this process as upwelling, where deep, cold water is brought upward by wind patterns and ocean currents. This water is often rich in nutrients, supporting marine life and influencing local ecosystems. The temperature contrast can be noticeable, especially to ships passing through. What once seemed like an isolated anomaly is now known as an essential part of ocean dynamics that supports biological productivity. 29. Fish returning to same spots. It has long been observed that certain fish species return to the same locations year after year, even after traveling long distances. This behavior once seemed mysterious, as it was unclear how these animals could navigate so precisely through vast and often featureless almiahi. Research has shown that many fish use a combination of environmental cues to guide them. These include the Earth's magnetic field, water temperature, and even chemical signals in the water. This ability, known as magnetic imprinting, allows them to remember and return to specific manatee. What once appeared almost purposeful or unexplained is now understood as a natural navigation system developed over time through evolution. 30. Lost whales reappearing. There have been cases where whale populations seem to disappear from known routes or manatee, only to be observed again later in different locations. This created uncertainty about their behavior and migration patterns. With the development of tracking technology, including satellite tags, scientists gained new insight into whale movement. It became clear that whales follow complex and often changing migration routes influenced by food availability, water temperature, and environmental conditions. What once looked like disappearance was often just movement beyond previously observed areas. These patterns are now mapped with increasing accuracy, What once felt uncertain is now understood as part of a flexible and adaptive migration system. 31. Tidal walls. At some coasts, in certain coastal regions, incoming tides can appear as sudden, powerful surges, sometimes described as walls of water moving inland. These events can be surprising, especially in narrow bays or river mouths. In reality, this is a well-understood phenomenon known as a tidal bore. It occurs when incoming ocean tides are funneled into confined spaces, such as estuaries or rivers, causing water to build up and move forward in a noticeable muju. The shape of the coastline and the kuwatu of the tide both play a role in creating this effect. What once seemed dramatic or unusual is now recognized as a predictable outcome of tidal movement interacting with geography. 32. Unexplained debris fields. At times, large areas of floating debris have been found in the ocean, with no immediate clear source. These fields of scattered material once raised questions about sudden or unexplained events at sea. Over time, investigations have shown that many of these debris fields are the result of natural disasters such as storms or tsunamis. Powerful waves and currents can carry objects far from their original location, spreading them across wide areas. Ocean currents then continue to move and disperse this material over time. By studying current patterns and known events, scientists can often trace debris back to its source. What once appeared mysterious is now understood as the data of large-scale natural forces acting on objects in the ocean. 33. Sunken village rumors. Legends of sunken villages beneath the sea have persisted for centuries, often fueled by unusual rock formations or sudden changes in coastal geography. People reported shapes resembling buildings or streets under shallow water, suggesting ancient human settlements now lost to the ocean. While initially mysterious, these formations have been studied using sonar mapping and underwater exploration. In most cases, what appear to be structures are natural rock formations, sometimes shaped by erosion, sediment deposition, or glacial movement. A well-known example is the Yonaguni Formation in Japan, which resembles terraces and steps, but is composed of naturally fractured sandstone. Careful geological analysis shows no evidence of human construction. The mystery is resolved. These sunken villages are natural features that the human brain interprets as familiar shapes, highlighting our tendency to find patterns even in nature. 34. Underwater pyramids. Some areas of the seafloor have features that resemble pyramids or geometric shapes, sparking speculation about lost civilizations or ancient technology. Divers and sonar surveys highlighted angular formations, leading to theories of human involvement. Scientific investigation, however, has clarified that these structures are volcanic or sedimentary in origin. Processes such as cooling lava flows, erosion, and sediment deposition can produce angular, stepped formations that appear artificial from certain angles. While visually striking, these features are entirely natural, shaped over thousands of years by geological forces. The perceived pyramids are an example of pareidolia, the tendency to see familiar patterns where none exist. The mystery is resolved by understanding the natural formation processes and careful geological mapping of the seafloor. 35. Baltic Sea Anomaly. A peculiar formation discovered on the floor of the Baltic Sea resembled a circular, rock-like structure, prompting speculation about a crashed UFO or ancient construction. Its unusual shape, combined with sonar imaging artifacts, created a striking visual that fed imagination and mystery. Researchers investigated using underwater exploration and geological surveys, revealing that the anomaly is a glacial deposit. Large stones and boulders left behind by moving glaciers formed the unusual shape, and the surrounding sediments further enhanced its geometric appearance. While visually intriguing, the formation has no artificial origin. What initially seemed mysterious is now understood as a naturally occurring glacial remnant, demonstrating how unique geology can appear deliberately constructed when seen out of context. 36. Lost City Sonar Images. Sonar scans of the seafloor sometimes reveal formations that appear to have straight lines, rectangular shapes, or grid-like patterns, leading some to speculate about lost cities beneath the ocean. Early images were grainy, and the human mind naturally interprets regular shapes as evidence of human construction. Detailed studies and higher resolution sonar mapping clarified that these features are natural. Submarine geological processes, including erosion, sediment deposition, and tectonic activity, can create linear ridges and terraces. Additionally, sonar imaging can exaggerate or distort the appearance of patterns depending on angle and frequency. What appeared to be an ancient city is actually a combination of natural structures and interpretive bias. The mystery is resolved by combining accurate sonar mapping with knowledge of ocean floor geology. 37. Deep Sea Highways. Marine biologists and oceanographers once noticed consistent pathways along the ocean floor where large schools of animals moved in predictable patterns. Initially, these were called mysterious highways because it seemed strange that creatures would follow invisible routes. Research revealed that these paths are shaped by ocean currents, temperature layers, and nutrient flows. Fish, squid, and other marine animals often follow these natural corridors because they provide efficient travel routes and abundant food sources. The interaction between physical oceanography and animal behavior explains the phenomenon. What seemed like an unexplained marine highway is now understood as a naturally occurring corridor formed by environmental and ecological conditions, guiding creatures efficiently through the vast ocean. 38. Underwater caves and tunnels. Explorers have long reported intricate networks of underwater caves and tunnels, some appearing impossibly large or deep. This led to speculation about hidden civilizations or lost worlds beneath the sea. Scientific research shows that these caves are natural formations, often created by erosion, lava tubes, or dissolving limestone over thousands of years. Water flowing through weak rock layers gradually carves tunnels and caverns, forming complex networks. While they may appear mysterious due to their size and darkness, divers and geologists have mapped many of these caves, confirming their natural origin. What once seemed like a hidden labyrinth is now recognized as a remarkable example of geological processes shaping the underwater landscape. 39. Submerged forests. In various coastal regions, explorers have discovered entire forests now lying underwater, often with upright tree trunks still visible. Early observers found these sites mysterious, imagining lost civilizations or sudden cataclysms. Scientific research clarified that these forests were once above sea level, dating back to periods when sea levels were lower, such as during the last ice age. As glaciers melted and the oceans rose, these forests were gradually submerged. The preservation of wood, sometimes in anaerobic sediments, allows us to study these ancient ecosystems today. What once seemed like a strange anomaly is now understood as a natural record of changing climates and rising seas over thousands of years. 40. Underwater tree trunks. Similar to submerged forests, Isolated tree trunks have been found lying intact on the seafloor. Early sailors and divers sometimes interpreted these as remnants of recent shipwrecks or mysterious deposits. Careful dating techniques, such as radiocarbon analysis, showed that these trunks are remnants of ancient forests, gradually washed into the ocean by erosion, floods, or rising waters. The preservation is enhanced in oxygen-poor sediments, preventing rapid decay. What once appeared enigmatic is now recognized as the natural process of coastal erosion combined with post-glacial sea level rise. 41. Shark attacks on livestock. Stories of sharks leaping from the water to attack livestock along coastal rivers or shorelines have circulated widely, creating fear and mystery. Detailed investigation showed that most reports were exaggerated or cases of misidentification. Large predatory fish might occasionally prey on animals near water, but the dramatic leaps were largely folklore or misinterpreted observations. Sharks typically hunt smaller prey and rarely attack humans or livestock unless provoked. Scientific monitoring and tagging of sharks confirm these behaviors are rare. What once seemed like a sensational mystery is now understood through the study of predator behavior and human storytelling exaggeration. 42. Man-eating waves. Sailors have long reported waves that seem to appear suddenly, powerful enough to capsize boats or wash people overboard. These man-eating waves were mysterious because they could occur even in calm seas, seemingly without warning. Modern oceanography has revealed that these are rogue waves, formed by the combination of multiple wave systems and underwater currents that focus energy into a single, unusually large wave. They can be exceptionally tall and steep, appearing out of nowhere and disappearing just as quickly. Understanding wave physics and ocean current interactions has allowed scientists to model and predict areas prone to rogue waves. What once seemed supernatural is now recognized as a rare but natural phenomenon of ocean dynamics. 43. Living coral reefs. For centuries, coral reefs were sometimes thought to be static rock formations because of their solid appearance. Observers noted changes over time, with some reefs appearing to grow or move slowly. Marine biology clarified that coral reefs are alive, made up of millions of tiny polyps that secrete calcium carbonate skeletons. These polyps form colonies that build complex three-dimensional structures over decades or centuries. The living nature of reefs is also evident in their response to environmental changes, such as bleaching events or growth in nutrient-rich areas. What once seemed like an inert, underwater landscape is now understood as a dynamic and vibrant ecosystem, continuously growing and adapting. 44. Coral recovery after bleaching. Bleaching events, where corals lose their color and appear lifeless, were once seen as catastrophic and permanent. Observers were puzzled when some reefs gradually regained their vibrancy over years. Scientists discovered that corals can recover if environmental conditions improve, particularly water temperature and clarity. Symbiotic algae, which give corals their color, can recolonize and restore health. Resilient species, combined with natural regeneration processes, allow some reefs to bounce back from stress events. This understanding has transformed our view of coral ecosystems from fragile static structures to resilient, living communities capable of recovery. What once seemed permanently damaged is now seen as part of the natural cycle of reef survival. 45. Mysterious sea turtles. Sea turtles have long puzzled scientists and sailors with their seemingly unpredictable appearances and long migrations. For centuries, their journeys across vast oceans were considered mysterious, as turtles would vanish from one area only to appear thousands of miles away months later. Modern research, aided by satellite tagging and long-term observation, has revealed that sea turtles follow precise migratory routes dictated by ocean currents, temperature, and feeding grounds. They also use the Earth's magnetic field to navigate across thousands of kilometers. What once seemed like erratic or magical movement is now understood as an incredible natural navigation system that has evolved over millions of years. 46. Lost salmon runs. Salmon populations have occasionally disappeared from rivers where they were historically abundant, leading to speculation about sudden environmental changes or unknown threats. Detailed ecological studies reveal that human activity, such as the construction of dams, water diversion, and habitat alteration, was the primary cause of these lost runs. Changes in river flow, temperature, and access to spawning grounds disrupted the salmon's life cycle. Conservation measures and careful monitoring of waterways have helped track these populations and restore some runs. What once appeared mysterious or sudden is now clearly explained by environmental management and natural salmon behavior. 47. Dolphin smiles. Humans have long been fascinated by dolphins, particularly the appearance of a smile on their faces. Some thought this was evidence of intelligence or emotion that was unusual for animals. However, research in marine biology has shown that what looks like a smile is simply the natural shape of a dolphin's jawline and facial structure. It is not an expression of emotion in the human sense. Dolphins do communicate and display complex social behaviors, but the visual appearance that triggers the smile illusion is purely anatomical. What once seemed mysterious or anthropomorphic is now explained through biological observation and study. 48. Whale song messages. For years, sailors and researchers were intrigued by the complex and haunting songs of whales, especially humpbacks, leading to speculation that they might be sending messages or communicating in ways beyond human understanding. With advances in marine biology and acoustic monitoring, scientists discovered that these songs serve multiple purposes, including mating calls, social coordination, and territory marking. Patterns within whale songs change over time, showing cultural transmission among pods. What once seemed mysterious messages from the deep is now understood as structured communication among whales, with identifiable functions, rhythms, and meanings that reveal the intelligence and social complexity of these marine mammals. 49. Octopus escape rooms. Stories of octopuses performing seemingly impossible escapes or solving puzzles puzzled early observers, who often considered them supernatural or highly anomalous. Modern experiments have shown that octopuses are intelligent, capable of learning, remembering, and using tools to manipulate their environment. Laboratory tests demonstrate that they can open jars, navigate mazes, and escape enclosures when motivated, particularly for food rewards. This behavior explains historical anecdotes of octopuses leaving tanks or avoiding predators in ways that seemed uncanny. What once appeared mysterious is now a documented example of complex problem solving and adaptability in cephalopods. 50. Jellyfish blooms. Sudden mass appearances of jellyfish, sometimes covering entire coastal areas, were long regarded as mysterious phenomena. These blooms could appear overnight and vanish just as quickly, baffling observers. Scientific research has shown that blooms occur in response to warmer waters, high nutrient concentrations, and favorable currents. Jellyfish reproduce rapidly, and environmental conditions can trigger explosive population growth. Human impact. such as overfishing of jellyfish predators and nutrient runoff, also contributes. What once seemed like a sudden, unexplained invasion of the sea is now understood as a natural ecological response to environmental and climatic factors. 51. Algae blooms vanishing. Algae blooms, when large amounts of algae accumulate and color the water, have often appeared suddenly and then disappeared just as mysteriously. This behavior puzzled early observers, leading to fears of pollution or strange environmental changes. Modern marine biology has clarified that algae blooms follow natural cycles of growth and decline. Blooms often occur in nutrient-rich waters, and their disappearance is usually due to nutrient depletion, grazing by marine organisms, or changes in temperature and currents. What once seemed unpredictable is now understood as a natural ecological rhythm, showing how microscopic organisms respond dynamically to their environment. 52. Zombie fish. Reports of fish behaving oddly, swimming erratically, or appearing lifeless yet moving, led to the nickname zombie fish. For a long time, observers speculated about toxins or unknown diseases causing bizarre behavior. Scientific research has revealed that these behaviors are often caused by parasitic infections. Certain parasites manipulate the nervous system or motor functions of their host fish to improve their own survival and reproduction. Infected fish may swim differently or become more vulnerable to predators, aiding the parasite's life cycle. What once seemed unnatural or mysterious is now understood as an example of complex host-parasite interaction in marine ecosystems. 53. Underwater cannibal fish. Occasionally, divers have reported fish consuming members of their own species, creating stories of cannibal fish. While shocking at first, detailed studies of predator-prey dynamics clarify this behavior. Many fish species will consume eggs, juveniles, or weaker individuals when resources are scarce. This is a natural survival strategy rather than an aberration. Environmental pressures, competition, and feeding needs drive such behavior, and it plays a role in regulating populations. What initially seemed like strange or sinister behavior is now understood as a normal part of ecological balance in marine communities. 54. Fish rain. There have been reports of small fish appearing to fall from the sky, creating what looked like fish rain. Early accounts were mysterious and sometimes considered supernatural. Scientific investigation revealed that this phenomenon occurs when waterspouts or strong tornadoes pass over water bodies. These violent wind systems can lift lightweight fish or other small aquatic animals from lakes, rivers, or coastal areas and carry them over land before dropping them. While rare, this explains historical and modern sightings. What once seemed magical or inexplicable is now a clear result of extreme weather events interacting with small aquatic life. 55. Seabird crash events. Large numbers of seabirds sometimes appear disoriented, crashing into surfaces or gathering in unusual places, which historically puzzled observers. Studies show that these events are usually linked to severe storms, sudden changes in weather, or disorientation caused by artificial lights. Birds often become exhausted, collide with structures, or land in atypical locations during these stressful conditions. What seemed like mysterious mass behavior is now understood as a natural response to environmental stress, amplified by human-made obstacles. Careful observation and meteorological correlation have explained these once alarming events. 56. Flying fish. Flying fish have long fascinated humans because of their ability to glide above the water. Early observers sometimes described them as strange or magical creatures capable of brief flight. Modern biology explains that these fish have unusually large pectoral fins and a streamlined body that allows them to leap out of the water and glide to escape predators. The behavior is a survival adaptation rather than a mystery. Their gliding distance can be impressive, sometimes spanning tens of meters, giving the impression of controlled flight. What seemed mysterious is now a well-understood evolutionary strategy for evading predation. 57. Underwater caves in ice. Explorers in polar regions have discovered tunnels and caverns beneath sea ice, leading to speculation about unknown habitats or secret passages. Scientific research shows that these caves are formed by meltwater channels and ice dynamics. As ice melts from below due to warmer water currents, it can carve intricate tunnels and pockets. Additionally, tidal movements and pressure changes in the ice create cavities that appear like mysterious underwater caves. What once seemed enigmatic is now understood as a natural consequence of ice physics, ocean currents, and seasonal temperature variations in polar environments. 58. Singing icebergs. Icebergs are sometimes reported to emit low, melodic sounds, giving the impression they are singing. Early seafarers found this phenomenon mysterious and eerie. Modern studies reveal that the sounds are caused by vibration modes within the ice, including cracking, melting, and the release of trapped air bubbles. These vibrations can resonate and travel long distances underwater, producing haunting tones that resemble singing. The phenomenon is entirely natural and occurs as icebergs undergo structural changes in response to temperature, water pressure, and movement. What was once mysterious is now a clear example of physics interacting with natural ice formations. 59. Underwater fireballs. Observers and divers have reported glowing spheres or fireballs beneath the ocean surface, leading to speculation about unexplained phenomena or paranormal activity. Scientific investigation has shown that these are caused by methane seeps or gas bubble plumes rising from the seafloor. Methane and other gases can become trapped in sediment and are released under pressure, creating visually striking bubbles that can refract light or appear luminous when interacting with sunlight or bioluminescent organisms. What seemed mysterious is now explained by natural geological and chemical processes occurring beneath the ocean floor. 60. Sea ice patterns. Polar explorers and satellite imagery have revealed intricate and shifting patterns in sea ice, which often appeared mysterious and unpredictable. These patterns include cracks, ridges, and drifting formations that change rapidly with the seasons. Scientific studies show that wind, tides, ocean currents, and temperature variations drive these formations. Ice flows can collide, break apart, and reform in geometric or fractal-like shapes, creating the illusion of deliberate design. What once seemed enigmatic is now understood as a natural interplay of environmental forces, demonstrating the dynamic nature of polar ice and how subtle changes can produce striking visual patterns on the sea surface. 61. Hidden underwater mountains. For years, sonar mapping revealed submerged elevations that seemed like mysterious mountains beneath the ocean. Early observers speculated about lost continents or hidden civilizations. Research has shown that these formations are natural seamounts, volcanic structures, or tectonic uplift zones. Many are extinct volcanoes or remnants of ancient geological activity, and they play important roles in marine ecosystems by affecting currents and serving as habitats for diverse species. What was once seen as hidden or mysterious is now recognized as a normal part of the ocean's geologic landscape, shaped over millions of years. 62. Underwater rivers. Some divers and sonar explorers have observed dense, river-like flows moving along the ocean floor, which seemed puzzling because rivers are typically associated with surface water. Oceanographers have explained these as brine flows, highly saline, dense water moving downhill along the seafloor due to gravity. These flows behave like rivers underwater, carving channels and transporting sediments. The difference in density and salinity allows these flows to persist and maintain shape over long distances. What once seemed like a mysterious underwater river is now understood as a natural fluid dynamic phenomenon resulting from salinity and density gradients. 63. Underwater deserts. Vast stretches of the ocean floor sometimes appear barren, giving the impression of underwater deserts where life seems absent. Early explorers were puzzled by these lifeless zones, wondering why such expanses existed amid rich marine ecosystems. Research has revealed that these areas are oxygen-poor dead zones, often caused by natural processes or nutrient imbalances. Without sufficient oxygen, most marine life cannot survive, leaving these regions sparse. Some dead zones form naturally in enclosed basins, while others are influenced by seasonal changes or human impact. What once seemed mysterious is now understood as a combination of ecological and chemical factors affecting life distribution on the seafloor. 64. Underwater snow. Divers and underwater cameras have captured a phenomenon resembling snowfall on the ocean floor, leading to curiosity and speculation. This is explained by marine snow, a continuous shower of organic detritus, including dead plankton, fecal matter, and other particles. These particles drift slowly downward, feeding deep-sea ecosystems and creating a snow-like appearance. Marine snow is essential for nutrient cycling and sustaining life in deep oceans, which lack sunlight for photosynthesis. What once appeared mysterious or magical is now recognized as a critical natural process supporting life in otherwise dark and nutrient-poor environments. 65. Underwater rainbows. At times, divers report seeing shimmering, rainbow-like effects underwater, which historically sparked wonder and mystery. Studies have shown that these are caused by light refracting through bubbles, suspended particles, or the surface water interacting with sunlight at specific angles. Bioluminescent organisms can also produce colorful glows that mimic rainbow effects in low light. The appearance of rainbow patterns is entirely optical and natural, depending on light, water clarity, and movement. What once seemed magical or inexplicable is now understood as a combination of physics, light behavior, and marine biology. 66. Floating icebergs. In deep sea, observers sometimes reported icebergs appearing to float in unexpectedly deep parts of the ocean, leading to speculation about anomalies or hidden currents. Modern oceanography has clarified that these sightings are often misinterpretations of ice debris, submerged ice fragments, or drifted glacial remnants. Ocean currents, density differences, and waves can keep ice suspended in ways that appear unusual. Careful tracking and satellite imaging show that these icebergs behave according to the physics of buoyancy and water density. What once seemed mysterious is now explained by natural processes governing ice movement in oceanic waters. 67. Underwater volcanoes. For centuries, unexplored seafloor regions revealed formations that seemed volcanic or active, fueling speculation about hidden geothermal activity. Scientific exploration and sonar mapping confirmed that these are hydrothermal vents and seamounts, formed by tectonic and volcanic processes. Hydrothermal vents release mineral-rich water, supporting unique ecosystems independent of sunlight. Many were once considered mysterious due to their extreme environments and unusual biology, including thriving organisms around hot water emissions. What once seemed unknown is now a well-documented feature of ocean geology and deep sea ecology. 68. Underwater lakes. Some deep-sea explorations uncovered pockets of brine or dense saline water on the ocean floor, appearing as distinct lakes beneath the sea. Initially mysterious, these lakes are now understood as brine pools, formed where salt deposits dissolve and create extremely dense water that resists mixing with surrounding seawater. These pools have unique chemical compositions and can support specialized life forms adapted to high salinity. What once seemed like an impossible underwater feature is now a natural occurrence resulting from geological and chemical processes in the deep ocean. 69. Underwater canyons. Finally, submarine canyons carved into the seafloor puzzled early explorers, who wondered how such large valleys existed underwater. Detailed oceanographic studies revealed that these canyons are formed by sediment erosion, turbidity currents, and underwater landslides over millions of years. They act as channels transporting sediment from continents to the deep ocean and provide habitats for diverse marine life. What once seemed mysterious is now a clear example of natural erosion and geological activity shaping the seafloor landscape.